And welcome back to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Steve Swat. My guest this segment is George Runner, a member of the Board of Equalization and also a former senator in the state of California. Thanks for being with us.
Good to be here with you, Steve.
I know you are taking a very active interest in Amazon's efforts to repeal the so-called Amazon tax, which I guess in a nutshell requires them to collect taxes, sales taxes, and like other brick and mortar companies. Why the interest?
Well, of course, it's beyond just Amazon. The law, and according to what the Supreme Court has often found, is that if you don't have what's called a brick and mortar presence, you know, the stores that you go in and shop at, where retail activity can actually take on, that the state can't force then that retailer to collect a sales tax. And of course that would be issues like Amazon or Overstock.com or LL Bean, lots of other folks that are a part of that. So the issue is whether or not you can force an out-of-state retailer to actually do something, and that's what they tried to do it with the legislation. Amazon is fighting it in court in New York, but in California they decided to go ahead and use a referendum to repeal the law.
Why not go to court here, do you think?
Well, I think a couple of things. Number one is the tool that they're using to create what's called Nexus are what we call affiliates. These are individuals who are really advertisers. They don't sell anything on their sites, but they point you to through a click-through to Amazon or a host of other retailers. And what's happened is Amazon now, as they've done in other states, have cut off that relationship. So we have 25,000 of those in the state of California. Those are small businesses. I think the idea is by using the referendum, you actually then, as soon as they turn in those signatures, the law goes on hold until the election, so those people can actually get back to work. And I think that's the issue that they're trying to deal with here in California. It's already going to use the court. They've already dealing the court, so why do the court again here in the state of California?
Let me ask you this. The primary argument for the Amazon tax is fairness. You have a lot of constituents up, I mean, throughout much of California, and you certainly did in the legislature. What do you say to a small business person who comes to you and says, look, I have to collect these taxes and the price of my goods goes higher now, and it's an unfair competitive advantage to let these online companies lower their prices sort of artificially by not collecting these taxes.
Well, the problem is that again, because of court cases, they've had to create Nexus in order to force them to force the tax, because this is really a settled issue in regards to federal law. So then what you have to do is you have to create what is some kind of brick and mortar presence, which they've done through these affiliates. So what did Amazon do? They cut their relationship to the affiliates. So what you had is the worst of both worlds here in the state of California. You had Amazon still not collecting the tax, and now you had 25,000 jobs that were cut.
But the argument is that even though they're doing that, and that may be the end result, which is not good, it's just not fair. It's just not the right way to do business.
But at that point, you got to deal with what the federal law is. The part of the issue of fairness I point out, and that is if you think Amazon should have to collect sales tax for all the sales that it does in California, that means in fairness, every one of those small retailers who sell something to another state who are in California ought to have that same obligation. And what's happened is the court said that's not right and fair, because what you have is you have every one of those small businesses in the state of California who has some kind of a retail presence in other states having to register with 50 different, well, not all of them have sales tax, 42 other states in order to do business in those states. And remember, it's more than just registering. It means that those states now have the ability to come in and ask for your books, to audit your books. And what's happened is the court has said, that's too much of an imposition when it comes to interstate commerce, and that's why they found themselves in that position.
Okay. Well, we're out of time. We haven't even talked about the fiscal issue, which is $200 to $500 million. But we'll save that for another interview.
Okay.
But George Runner, thanks for coming in and talking about this.
Thank you.
And thanks to our viewers for watching Comcast Newsmakers. We'll see you next time.